Okay, the purpose of this short and slightly rough and ready video is to talk about project portfolio management and what we can do in Project Online with regards to selection and prioritization of projects and their alignment to our business or organizational strategy. On the screen here, we're looking at Project Center. I've grouped a number of projects. Each of the blue rows represents a project, and they have been grouped by what workflow phase they're in. So we have create, select, plan, manage, and measure here, but again, that's configurable. See details of each project. I could drill down and see the details behind that if I wanted to. I can see red and green indicators for things like health and risk and return on investment. They could be subjective and objective. And on the right hand side, you get a Gantt chart representation of that as well. So let's talk about the process briefly. So in a typical organization, we're looking to deliver investments, initiatives, and we then want to execute on those and manage and deliver the projects and programs at the output of those, of course. In the middle, we want to prioritize and select. For a lot of organizations, they'll be using Excel or they'll be doing it in an ad hoc and unstructured manner. What we can do with Project Online is we can capture the required information about your project. Here we've got a basic form. We're filling in things like benefits and cost, where we align the project to the strategic impacts or imperatives of the organization, or objectives if you want to think of it that way. So here we've got expansion into new markets and segments. My project on the left supports it in a low way, so it's going to help grow revenue from new markets and segments by up to $500,000. So again, this is fully configurable. You can define what the impact statements are and what the rating values are as well. From there, what we end up with is a list of selected projects, and then they are all aligned to the various different drivers, and we rate those using a simple scoring method around none, low, moderate, strong, and extreme. From there, we can actually get a kind of heat map view of that, so we can see how each project on the left is aligned to the business drivers that are going across the top. So we end up with a list of prioritized projects. On the right hand side, we've got our project list and prioritize, and that'll be normalized out to 100% as well. And they're based on how each project's been aligned to each business driver and the relative weighting we've given those. Business drivers can also be weighted. This is my portfolio analysis area. I've got some what if scenarios in here. Again, that's a key thing. I'm actually going to look at a baseline that I have for a list of projects that I've selected. On the right hand side, we'll see a list of the projects. At the top here, we can see the total cost to execute those projects, or my budget. I could have multiple costs or ROI or whatever additional fields in here. It's going to cost me best part of $22 million. I've selected 31 projects to analyze, and if I deliver all those projects, everything being equal, I'll deliver 100% of the strategic value of those projects as derived from those business drivers that we saw earlier. In the bottom left hand corner here, we can see our efficient frontier curve. Really basically my curve for diminishing returns. If I don't spend any money, I won't deliver any strategic value. And what we can see next is some constraints analysis, which is going to show us what happens if we're constrained. In this case, I'm going to use cost. So there's a model I created earlier. My budget has been slashed to 14 million. What we can start to see here is which projects have been selected, which ones are not selected, and then we can see that for 14 million, I'll still deliver 21 projects, and in fact, I'm still going to deliver 81.76% of our strategic value as well. We have the option, obviously that's a very objective view of the world. We have the ability to actually force projects in and out of that mix as well. So that takes into account things like, people are saying, well, what happens if we did this project, or regulatory change, that kind of thing. We can then provide various different outputs for that as well, and we can compare the project scenarios. Here we can see a list of projects, what their priorities are, and the different models that we have here. So I've got a 14 million budget model, a baseline, and a force in-out view of the world as well. So again, these what if scenarios don't impact what we're already executing, but they will take the data from that, and it gives us a great way to do that scenario planning on the fly as well. So rather than kind of going back to Excel, rerunning some model, it's available directly there at the same time. And if you want to, we can do that not only with analyzing cost, we can also analyze that against our resources, and we can do similar things. What happens if I change the start date of a project? What happens if I hire more resources? And I can also see where we have underutilization. So again, I might have all the money in the world to run the projects, but do I have enough resources? And we can take that as the next step if we wanted to. So very briefly, that's a quick overview of what you can do with project portfolio management or using Microsoft Project Online.